Hey, yo, welcome to the QB School show. Do it live. Black Friday. The Black Friday. Could probably change the title of that. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed your Thanksgiving holiday. If you're on the American side of this thing, do me a favor. Hit me with your favorite emoji. Make sure I sound all right. But we are here specifically to talk courses. We got a bunch of different courses. We got by far the biggest sale that we'll ever do, probably ever do, but certainly this year with 50% off all the courses, and then a massive chunk, essentially 66%, $2,000 off the granddaddy of them all, the entire offense. So today is the day. If you ever had a question about any of the courses, and just for fun, let's see what those courses look like. We've got the RPO, we've got the tempos, we've got, what else we got? Pass protection. We've got, I feel like I'm missing one. Oh, how to beat every coverage, by far the most popular one ever. And then we've got the entire offensive framework. So I'm here to answer any questions that you all have. I can certainly go through and talk about each one of them. I think probably the broadest one is the how to beat every coverage course, but probably by far the most in-depth one is the entire offensive framework. So they kind of hit all over the place. I've got a couple ideas about what courses are next. Certainly open to input on that as well. But I'm excited to kind of see where this thing goes. I've got myself just beverage lineup here. Feels like I'm like back in my 20s with a severe hangover, although I don't have a hangover. Our Thanksgiving was pretty chill. We're not feeling the greatest around here, I'm not going to lie. So pretty lay low. We'll probably do it again, redo style. Run it back here in a few weeks when everyone's feeling good. But right here, we got a little bloody going. Thought about a White Russian. Honestly, just a tick early for me with the White Russians. Even with the American soccer game coming up soon, not sure I could get there. So went a little Bloody Mary, coffee, and of course, we're going to stay hydrated. Heyo, my man Thomas Muck checking in from across the pond. I love it. Jay Gallen, will any course help me tune my smile? Charming as Jimmy G's. No, sorry. Can the Bears get a pass protection course? Ooh, that's a good one. I like that. All right, RC Plane Builder. How does the QB make a cadence without messing up? Also, what do green 19, blue 80, red 90 mean? Well, RC Plane Builder. Love a good RC plane, by the way. Although I'm more of a drone guy nowadays. What was the first part of that question? Without messing up? I think you do it without messing up just because you do it so much every single day. And really, the team usually tells you specifically what cadence to use. And in reality, the cadence is usually whatever the starter wants it to be. So if you're a backup on a team organization, you usually just have to do and kind of try to mimic the starter's cadence so that the team is used to hearing that kind of rhythm and way that they operate. The color number, I'm sure there's a iteration, like a story behind the genesis of it. I don't know what it is. I think back in the day, if I had to guess, cadence-wise, it would have been back in the day when I first got in the league, a lot of audibles were color-centric. So say we went on black or white were like the neutral colors. They mean nothing. So if you said white 90 or black, whatever, that wouldn't alert anything. But if you went orange, well, that was your live color that week. So orange, 45 Razor would be an audible. And so you would, theoretically, you would audible without the defense knowing that you're audibling. I don't think any of that shit really happens nowadays anymore. I think most of the time it's just a rhyme. So white 90, green 19, blue 22, those types of things I think are the normal way that a lot of guys do it. And I think, honestly, at lower levels, most people just go clap. I hope so. That's certainly the one that I think is the easiest to do and best to do. And if you do the tempos course or the entire offense, you'll certainly see how the clap plays into a lot of different types of tempos and offensive strategy at the line of scrimmage. So my man, Rob, ba-boom, coming in hot. Appreciate it. RPO. Oh, no, the JTO. Very nice. Dude, I'm fired up to share this thing. I'm not going to lie. I think sometimes my excitement comes through in a lot of videos, and I want it to, but I also really do try to make it feel like an NFL quarterback room where, like, we're not going to get crazy high, we're not going to get crazy low. We can have fun with it and laugh and appreciate crazy plays. But the offensive framework, the one that I'm calling the JTO, it's by far, there's never been a collection of content that I'm more excited to share. Now, could I price it to make it more affordable to everybody? Yeah, but I think it's worth it. Like I can't put that many years into something. And the other thing about it is if I don't charge enough for it, when you buy it, you won't be invested enough to get through it. It's not easy to get through a lot of these courses. These courses come with some significant attention required to be able to utilize and capitalize on all the information. And so when I make it a certain threshold to be able to get access to it, to me, it's not only is it worth it, but it's worth your investment to be able to say, hey, I'm going to invest in this and make sure that this thing can help me. And I think it can help any and every offense. I really do. I think you can take it and use it individually, and it would be fine to probably better than the vast majority of offenses. I also think you can layer it on top of probably what many teams already do and be significantly better. So I'm excited to share it. My guy, Michael, ba-boom. Happy Black Friday to everybody out there. I know I've already made some big purchases. I usually kind of like make like a bizarre list on my phone about things that I want that Santa will potentially bring that get purchased on these days. So I'm excited to make sure that I got what I wanted, and now it's all about making sure that everybody gets access to this if they want it. So there's never going to be a better time. Get on those courses. All right, let's see what we got. Carlos Ortiz, even on Black Friday, I'm going to stay away from the Broncos and the offense. So I appreciate your gentle nudge, but it's not for me, and it's probably not for long either, if I'm going to be totally honest. So we'll see what it looks like moving forward, but it's tough to watch even from a distance. There's some good games yesterday. There's some good games today as well. I'm excited. I'm probably going to a high school game. We're in championship season out here in San Diego, so I'll probably make it. My son wants to go see a certain game. 2 teams playing a championship that we played last year, so a little familiar with some of the personnel, so I'm excited to go see some live football. I always think of this day as like rivalry day. I think Alabama-Auburn always plays today. Is it Nebraska-Iowa too? I think that there are some pretty cool games. Ben's Jumper. A lot of people listen to that show. I don't know if I hop on it. I hop on other shows often. I have a couple podcasts that I listen to, specifically the Road Show that I did for Lindsay Rhodes the other day. I listened to that. I try to stay away from. That's not true. There aren't a whole lot of shows that I go on regularly. That's my own issue because I don't necessarily like to commit to do something regularly. I think the reason that I like this, whatever the hell this space is because it is so flexible and I can literally do whatever the hell I want, whenever the hell I want. Sometimes I gravitate more to certain podcasts, so I try to, if they ask me, I'll try to hop on there and support them. Specifically, if they've supported me along the way. It's kind of a weird space in podcast land. I'm not necessarily an expert in it by any means, but I enjoy podcasts, so I try to step in and offer something when there's something to offer. The other thing about podcast land for me is usually those podcasts are like hyper specific to about one thing, one audience, whatever that is. And I don't necessarily operate in the one space, unless you're talking about quarterbacks. And even if you're talking about quarterbacks, I don't really have a hot take on every single quarterback at every single level. I just don't watch every single player with that kind of depth. But if there are guys like Fields or Tua that I've spent significant time watching recently, Zach Wilson, I'll certainly kind of hop on and be able to do that if it promotes the channel as well. Boom. Appreciate it though. Michael, any plans for future courses? If so, what ideas do you have? Michael, if you have ideas, let me know. Probably not in the chat because I don't often go back and look at these chat things, but a bunch of different ways to get at me, whether on Twitter or in the comments or just email. Yeah, I do have new ideas for courses. I don't have anything that I'm working on specifically. I think the next course that I do, I've toyed around with collaborating with a couple other people. I'm not sure if that will ever happen just because it's so much easier for me to just do it myself. But I think it could be fun to do that, and I think it could offer a little bit probably better product potentially. I toyed with like an intro to quarterbacking, kind of like for just parents or players that are just interested in like, hey, is this something that, like give me the baseline kind of strong foundation that we can work with, before you like jump into the like private coach sector, what does that look like? I think I could do that. I'm not sure how meaningful that would be to the vast majority of people that like this channel, if that makes sense. I think that's why I'm always looking for courses, kind of like the How to Beat Every Coverage course, because that resonates with so many different people. It's by far the highest enrollment that I have in all those courses. And I think it's because you can be a diehard. You can be just a casual fan. You can be new to the game. You can be a coach. You can be a player. You can be a journalist. You can be all of those things and get significant value from that type of course. And so, trying to weave what that looks like, I don't know. We'll see. If you got good ideas, let me know. My guy, Eric Snyder. Ba-boom. Happy holidays. Cheers. Roy Crosby. Can you speak to the ball faking and footwork in Shanahan and Dolphins scheme? Coincidentally, Jimmy G and Tua look so comfortable. I could speak to that. I probably will kind of maneuver that question into the courses that I'm offering, really the RPO course and the entire offense course. The footwork that we use there has, I think, carry over to the league or to the highest levels of football. And for me, and I think you're into it a little bit with how comfortable they look, it's a combination. Okay, so I've never been hey, it's got to be this way, must be my way, or the highway type thing with footwork. I think the most important thing for footwork is that it matches the concept, whether that's in the run game, whether that's in the play action movement game, whether that's in the RPO space. And so I always like to be able to be as flexible as we need to be to make sure that all these guys are going to be different. A big person might be a little different than a shorter, smaller stature guy. And, what are we trying to do schematically? So I like to make things as simple and as able to carry over. So same as. So this RPO footwork is the same as this RPO footwork, and to be able to have a lot of things that are similar. So it looks the same to the defense, but you also only get so many reps. When you're coaching at lower levels of ball, or even at the highest levels of ball, you only have so many reps to get good at something. So you can have 10 different footworks in, but are you going to be good at 10 different drops? Hell no. In the RPO space, you can have a bunch of different types of RPOs. We can have RPOs for days, but if we're coaching younger players, even, guys in their early 20s, pro players, how many reps do they have with this kind of footwork, making this type of throw? So you want all those things to be as similar as possible for the quarterback, but look different to the defense and present different to the defense. So hopefully that makes sense a little bit. Boom. Michigan State, Ohio. Is that today too? See, you guys know all these things. Oh, short round. You hit me in a sweet spot. Talk about that. Mike, appreciate the Patreon love as well. But boom. If you're not a member of the Quarterback School Patreon community, hop over there. Where is the thing that I saw? Short round. What's the difference between a rail route and a wheel route? I will add that I call it a bullet route. So to me, a rail route is a go from the backfield or from like the sniffer position, where you're basically looking over your inside shoulder, running eventually to go spacing, meaning like 5 yards from the sideline. Every team is different. Some teams, that's a down the field throw. Some teams you can back shoulder. Some teams you can put it on right away. The most experience I have with that route is calling it a bullet route in the Mike Martz digit world. And it's a go from the backfield or from the sniffer position. And you can throw it at any time. So as you're running, say the ball's over here, as you're running, the back kind of has to have like his eyes back. I actually do a clinic. Who did I do the clinic for? I forget where I did a clinic on bullets. But if you probably type in my name and bullets, you probably can see it in YouTube somewhere. I think it was during the COVID time. But it's basically, bullets to me was like before mesh was popular. It's the same play as mesh. It's a little bit more focused on the bullet rail route and less on the meshy part of it. But it's basically, and then a wheel to me is more, true wheel is more like flat and up, in my opinion. A lot of people will say that they're essentially the same thing, and they are the same thing in certain offenses, and that's why it's confusing as hell. So hopefully that cleared it up a little bit, and I didn't make it muddier. The Forever Puddle, my guy, happy holidays. What we got here? Do me a favor. I will try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. It certainly helps. Appreciate you guys coming in, hitting the like button for me when you come in. Very few times, I feel like, really the vast majority of times, these are just Q&As, and I'll randomly answer whatever resonates and that I have something to value to offer. But today I'm really trying to stick to course-centric stuff. So if you have course-specific stuff or think the things that you think are in the course that you have questions about, I'm all about it. I'm going to try to stay away from like random, guy questions or Zach Wilson questions. I saw one on there. Just like my man Alexander came in with the super chat. But because you came with the super chat, I'll give it a quick answer, Alex. Thoughts on Washington Scott Turner? People who know say he's trying to replicate his dad Norv, but his dad was a better game planner and had a better rhythm and play calling. I know Scott a very little. He was on the staff when I was with his dad in San Diego for a hot minute. I think I always come with reservations to any type of what I'm going to classify as nepotism type vibe. I think that what they've been able to do recently with the change at quarterback has been, kind of something that they can kind of hold their hat on a little bit as far as strong scheme potentially moving forward. That division is tough as hell. I don't know. I don't really have anything beyond that, to be honest with you. I don't watch them that in depth. I was coached by the quarterback coach out there, Zampese, and so I know that they're certainly going to be detailed from the quarterback position, and, that's about it. Appreciate it, though. Mike Jansen, what do you recommend to train a young kid in a geographical location that doesn't really have the advanced tools coaching near them? Will probably have to do it myself. Mike, were you here earlier in the chat when I said that you're describing what I think is probably going to be my next course? It's tough. Well, it's tough. It's not easy. It's certainly easier to be in a place where there's a bunch of quarterback trainers. Like in San Diego, there's 5 people that are probably all really good. I think that there are resources, not necessarily like this, like the quarterback school, but there are certainly a lot of resources that you could potentially look into. I know that some of those guys, I'm not, doing shout outs for free type of a vibe, but just because I'm buddies with Jordan Palmer, I know Jordan offers like a virtual training type environment. Like, I don't know if that's exactly what you're looking for. It's not in my opinion, the absolute best way to do it, but if you don't have another option, it certainly seems like it could be a good kind of toe in the water to that world. I think Kurt does it as well. Kurt Warner does something similar to that. I've never done it or been in any of those things, so I don't necessarily want to speak to it, but both those guys, I think, do a really good job. So that could be potentially things you look at. You can also go the camp circuit. I saw Quincy Avery recently came out with like where he's making his tour stops this year. So other good options potentially to get to. Snow Raven. Question. On offenses that are very run scheme oriented, like Titans, Falcons, is it easier for DCs to game plan? How creative can you really get? Easier? I don't know. I mean, I'm not a defense coordinator. Sometimes I think it's harder because if a team's going to run it and you can't stop it, like you can't hold up at the line of scrimmage and they can kind of exert their will against you, there's nothing you can do. You can only put 11 people close to the line of scrimmage, and sometimes that's not enough for Derrick Henry. So, I personally think it's harder to play against a team that does something well. So if you run the ball well or you throw the ball well, I don't want to play against you. Just like I think you're a better offense if you do one thing really well. Now, a lot of people will say, hey, you want to be balanced or you want all, 5 eligibles to get touches. That's never the world I've lived in. I think if you run the ball really well, you're going to be really hard to stop because there's a lot of things you can do off of it. Same thing in the passing game. Jimmy 10Gs. Do you think these courses will help me coach my nephew's Pop Warner team? I never had formal technical coaching, so I feel like I'm underprepared. Now, Jimmy 10Gs, this is the type of quality question that I am here for, my guy. Yes. Okay, so I think all of them would help. I think realistically, how old is your nephew's Pop Warner team? Well, it really doesn't matter how old your nephew's Pop Warner team is. The How to Beat Every Coverage course, in my opinion, would help right out the gate. Now, if you get to the point where, you're teaching kids more detailed pass protection, you're teaching them potentially RPOs, if you want to get a little bit more scheme heavy as far as your different tempos that you can operate in, I think all those things are good and elements of the other courses. But just generically, the How to Beat Every Coverage course, because it will give you confidence that you understand how to beat every single coverage, certainly that you'll see at the Pop Warner level, let alone probably any level. And then, the entire offensive framework you could certainly use. I don't know if you could use it, at the low, you could use bits and pieces of it at the absolute lowest levels. But I think, if they're getting closer to teenagers, you could probably have a more comprehensive scheme. But if I was coaching at like a 10, 11, 12-year-old, I would have basically the offense that's in the JTO, but just with a, skeleton bones way to go about it. But we'd still be able to do multiple tempos, have baseline RPOs, have baseline ways to change personnel and how we communicate in the simplified way that plays are called and constructed. All those things for sure. It's a good question. Walton Taylor, for the tempos course. Hold up, let me get a sip here. For the tempos course, how useful would it be for sub-varsity level offenses? Where practice time is limited, best way to implement it with the time limitation. Walton, I think it fits at any level tempos wise. I think certainly we used it at the sub-varsity level. I would make the argument that it's actually better if you're in a condensed practice environment because it makes you go faster. I'm a huge proponent of not coaching on the field. And let me say that again. I do not love when coaches coach on the field, and I actually used to get pretty pissed and kind of snarky at some of our assistant coaches if they didn't know me well, if they were trying to like stop a drill or stop a God forbid, stop a team like 11 on 11 set in during practice so that they could coach one kid, I would come out of my skin. That's just not going to work. I wouldn't embarrass them, but I would pull them aside and say, hey, that's not how we do things. Now, not everybody has the capacity to say, hey, get in the meeting room, or when you send the film to the players, or some of these players probably aren't going to watch film or might not even have huddle, those types of things. So it gets a little bit harder. But when you're in a condensed time situation, going faster, in my opinion, allows you to get more reps. And again, the tempos course is not just about going faster. It's a philosophical approach to allow you to go faster, but really it's about capitalizing on your strengths as an offense, as a coach, to be able to be flexible. When you need to go fast, you can go fast. When you need to go slow, you can go slow. And what that looks like and how you construct that intentionally in the offseason, in camp, during the week, to be able to take advantage of that situational ball that is so important. It might not be important at every level week one, but it's important every level championship football. And so being able to start from that standpoint allows you to be intentional with how you build in tempos and the capacity for you to go as fast or as slow as you want. Appreciate it. Lions Talk, my guy, what's good? Happy White Russian season. And also to everybody who celebrates. It goes from Thanksgiving to Easter, in case you're wondering. Pat Key, what is a Yankee concept to you? Yankee concept to me is like over post. Is that right? On two different sides? I don't really care if it's, I prefer, I guess it would depend. I don't think it matters if you go shotgun or under center. I will say that in the courses that I offer, I'm trying to think if there are any situations that I would go under center. Not really. I mean, if I was coaching at the highest levels of ball, obviously college or the NFL, you're going to have both. But I know you can get away with going just shotgun in high school. And I think it's easier. That's just me. Some people probably think it's the opposite, but I can think of less than 5 times in 3 years where we had a bad snap, and most of the bad snaps were grounders. as opposed to over the head type situations. Whoa. Oh. Walton, my guy. F. Suarez 97. One thing I always wondered is how can an offense design plays when the fronts for defense provide so many variances? 3-4, 4-3, 5-2, and different alignments. How do you prepare for that? My guy. Just the type of question I'm looking for. You know how you prepare for that? You have an offensive system, an offensive framework that allows you to run whatever you want to run versus anything. So let me say that again. In the framework that I sell, the offensive framework, basically the entire offense, one of the most proud things I am of is the run game and the pass protection units, because it works versus any front. And let me say that again. The runs work versus any front. Now, you can call it, and it doesn't matter what front they're in. The rules dictate how it's blocked. So essentially, you teach the toolkit to the offensive line. Now, they have to know the rules and be able to execute the rules, and you can certainly run certain runs into more premium looks, and that's certainly on the play caller, and we talk a lot about that. But if you want to run pin and pull, if you want to run duo, if you want to run split flow inside zone, if you want to run power, counter, wide zone, outside zone, stretch, draw, whatever, you can run it versus any front. Now, the rules will allow it to be blocked. Now, you still have to block them, and you might not have great angles, but you can block anything. And I think once you understand that the rules allow you to be comfortable calling, hey, I can call duo versus anything. Now, they might have an unblocked player on the play side edge, but that's in any duo. And so to be able to understand how you can then construct and be the offensive architect to give yourself the best flank or the best run front to be able to execute the run you want, those things come into play as far as game planning, play calling, all those types of things, the structure of how you're layering your plan. But give me a run, and any coach will say, hey, give me a run in the whiteboard or the pen last, and I can block it. But for me, one of the things that I love the most is that the rules for the offensive line and how we go about teaching it allows you to feel confident. Hey, it doesn't matter what it is. We'll be blocked up at the point of attack. Snow Raven. Do me a favor, y'all, as you come in here, hit the like button for me. I certainly appreciate you guys having questions, course specific. I'll do my best to get at it. We'll probably go here for another 10, 15-ish. See if I can get my mind right for this U.S. soccer game. Snow Raven. Okay, got another one. As a quarterback, what's your mindset when you see an in-game adjustment from zone to man or back or 3 to 4? I mean, there is no mindset adjustment. I think those things change every play. I think you got to be playing some, no offense, some shitty football if you're seeing consistently the same coverage all the time. The higher you get, you'll certainly see different shell constructions, man, zone, those things change all the time. I think it's harder when you see stuff that you necessarily maybe haven't prepared for. So say you come out and this is a too high team that majors in quarters. Well, you just got, too trapped with, overload pressure, something you've never seen before on film, and it's week 8 of the season. Well, now you're in, okay, oh shit, what else do they have? But eventually they're going to have to go back to the DNA of that defense. And so stuff like that. But I mean, those things, in my opinion, are few and far between. I will say coaching, lower levels of football, oftentimes we would see a la carte shit, like stuff we'd never see on film. They come out with some crazy new front, crazy coverage, or something out of their norm. But I was always told our guys, like, hey, our rules block everything. I'll get us into the best play I possibly can. We'll have answers. They might not be the best answers. We'll sort it out on the sideline and feel like, we can go out there. But eventually, if they're not in what they teach day one in camp, we're at an advantage, in my opinion. And that's kind of how it was always communicated. My guy, Alexander, ba-boom, coming in hot. You're going for the MVP of this live. I like it. Jim, the answer to that is yes. Alexander, what do we got? What technique should a quarterback use to elevate their release point? Oh, bro, I'm not sure we want to do that. My high school lost the DC championship last week because the quarterback has a low release and the last pass of the game was batted down by D-line. What kind of pass was it? I think if you're a fan of the channel, you probably realize that most of the time, specifically in quick game, batted balls, in my opinion, are the offensive line's issue, not the quarterback's issue. I don't mess with quarterback's release. Now, I would prefer if it was kind of 3/4 to up, but I think most people think in their mind, people have high over-the-top releases, and then when you slow it down, it's a lot closer to 3/4 for most people. I probably would stay away from like lower than the shoulder type vibe consistently, but that's not something I worry about at all. In fact, if anything, last pass of the game, I'm thinking the ball is going to be a pretty strong upward trajectory type thing. Now, if it gets batted down, that's a bummer, but I don't know, man. I probably wouldn't elevate release points. I know back in the day, and I'm not saying that this is a good drill necessarily. I know back in the day, my quarterback coach used to make me stand under the goalpost, take like a 3-step drop, and try to throw it over the goalpost to kind of accentuate getting the ball up to get it over the goalpost quickly. I think those days have changed. I think now it's all about finding your release point where you can stroke it consistently. And then obviously, you have to get it over the line of scrimmage or past the line of scrimmage, the guys at the line of scrimmage. So all those things come into play. But I don't know if I'd ever think like, hey, let's, jack with someone's release point, specifically if they're in like high school type age now. My man, Snow Raven. Ba-boom. Andrew, AGY, I try to go live once a week. It doesn't always happen like that. Sorry. I know. It's just one of the things. I appreciate the flexibility. It'd probably be better on lives if I did it all the time at a certain time. I just don't. Andrew, great channel. Love the Tua breakdowns. My son Marcus wants to improve his skill set at wide receiver prior to college tryouts. What or who do you recommend? Also, what are you drinking? I'm drinking a Bloody Mary here. It is normally I go with a like Ballast Point kind of, what would you call it? Like the mixture part of it. This is like a Tabasco mixture. It's not my favorite. It's a little thin, if I'm going to be honest. College tryouts. What would I do? That's tough. I don't know. I make jokes all the time about this not being like O-line school or wide receiver school. And it really isn't. I think that there are probably platforms out there that offer those types of things. If I was going to do something, if I knew someone who was going to try out for college wide receiver, I'd probably tell them to see if they can get a hold of some of the quarterbacks on the team. Maybe not the starter, but the backups potentially are probably looking for guys to go throw with. So if you can do that, maybe potentially, if you're really serious and like a true like walk-on, might get with like the wide receiver coach and ask them for like 15 minutes of their time, sit down, ask them for like what are their baseline things that they look for, teach drills that they do in practice so you can prepare for practice and the tryouts. Beyond that, I don't know if I have specific, outlets or content that I would push you towards. Connor K, if your team is having difficulty with pass pro from 2x2 spread in preseason, would you change the pass pro you're teaching or add an extra blocker? I do all of those things. I would probably add, pass pro from 2x2 spread doesn't mean anything to me. Like pass pro in general, okay, it doesn't matter what the formation is. A lot of the baseline underlying tools and techniques are the same. It doesn't matter what formation you're in. Now, how you call pass pro or like what you're actually asking them to do. Are you doing full slide? Are you doing half slide? Are you doing, man on man, big on big type stuff? What are your adjustments? How are you doing play action? All those types of things. But if you're just doing a true pass set on an open edge tackle, most of those things are pretty similar depending on what the drop of the quarterback is. So I personally, let's just assume you're talking about the high school level. We really, and in the course, the framework that I offer, the entire offensive system, we really only have 2, what I would say, drop back pass protections One's a half slide, one's a full slide. Most years, well, if I coached high school for 3 years, the first year we lived in half slide. The second year and third year, we were probably a more run dominant team. And when we dropped back, we lived in full slide. I think full slide is cleaner for the quarterback as far as there just not being issues, and easier for the back too. Now it depends. If you're dealing with like a crazy edge defender, you probably don't want your back blocking that guy, but I just wanted the easiest thing for our guys and feel like they knew who they had to block. And if there was a mismatch somewhere, you just try to tell them to die slowly. Like, don't get smoked at the line of scrimmage and have like a free runner. But when you live in the half slide world, I think sometimes it can be a little bit of an opportunity for the back to be in a tough situation, for the center to be in a tough situation. And so just having multiple answers for me is probably the best thing to do it. If you haven't taken the pass protection course, I recommend it. I think it will make you feel like you have a lot more answers, whether you're trying to get things in the offense if you're the quarterback, or a coach, or kind of maybe a coach that doesn't coach offensive line. You just want a better understanding of what's going on to the line of scrimmage. I think understanding, for me, when I was in the league my first year, I spent a significant amount of time learning the nuance of pass protection, the calls, why we were doing all these different things, why we carried so many damn pass protections, how and when we would implement them, what we're trying to do, where the weak spots are. And so that gave me a lot more sense of confidence at the line of scrimmage, in meetings, being able to articulate to the line, to the huddle, what the hell we were trying to do and why we were trying to do it. It wasn't just me regurgitating what the coach was saying. So hope that helps. It's not my favorite. Probably never good when you have to wash down your bloody with coffee. All right, couple more. I feel myself weaning here. Any questions specifically on the courses? Again, the code is in the description to this chat. The code is at the top of this. Actually, I'll put it right back in the thing here. It will never be cheaper, y'all. Oh, it will never be cheaper to get yourself a course. Never. The offensive framework will probably never be cheaper. Probably. Trying to think what else there is here specifically course related. Just if you're interested in that, if you dig the channel, I think you really will love the courses. The courses to me are as real life install as you can possibly get. If I coach at a higher level, whether it be high school, college, the NFL, I would create a video library very similar to these courses. It really would be exactly what it's like, and probably what it's like at many of the highest levels right now, where they get new players and they just say, hey, you're responsible for this information, go in there, learn it at your tempo, those types of things. So if you're interested in upgrading your stuff, you enjoy the channel, you think it could help you as a fan, player, coach, football person, I really, really enjoy creating the courses. I know I enjoy doing the one-off stuff, like the video stuff and the highlight, lowlight stuff, and the Patreon stuff for sure. But the courses, that's real ball. Like, that's how it's done at the highest levels, in my opinion. And so when I can give that, share that, and make it somewhat more affordable, but still an investment for you, it's fun for me to be able to do. So get over there, check out the courses. I sincerely appreciate it. If there's like a question or two left, now is the time. Otherwise, we're going to turn this thing down. All right, my man Alexander just coming in for the MVP. I'm going to have like an MVP little image. Am I too worried about the quarterback's release point? The kid is 15, but he releases the ball at his shoulder level. I think there's a lot of guys who are three-quarter guys. I was a three-quarter guy. I think Patrick Mahomes is a three-quarter guy. That's about the only time I'll ever say his name and my name in the same area. But I think a lot of guys are more three-quarter guys. If you're really worried about it, I would say I would push you to and there's a lot of guys in this space. I think probably Tom House is just probably the most prominent, that probably has more information about release points. He's really, really finicky about not messing with the arm action of a quarterback. I've messed with arm actions of quarterbacks before. I coach my own kids' arm action pretty tightly, and I think that there are ways to be more efficient if you're younger with that type of stuff. You certainly don't want to be like a pusher, but the release point, to me, I would definitely say you're overthinking it, unless potentially it's so low that it's going to hurt his arm, those types of things, or elbow. I would check out Tom House. He's got a great app that I use a lot for baseball with younger kids. I think they're going to do football with it. They've got a cool Discord too. What is the app called? Mustard. It's called Mustard. So get over there, check that out, potentially for more information. All right, my man Frankie. I'm a Pee Wee QB, and I throw 3 quarters and was converted from running back to QB. I need tips. Frankie, I think this channel would be a good resource for you. I don't have any specific tips for you other than just dive into it, enjoy it, try to do exactly what your coach is asking you to do. Ask him explicitly what he wants from you and what you can improve on. And good luck, bro. That's a lot. It's better, though, than the opposite. Most quarterbacks are then turned into wide receivers or running backs. So to be asked to play quarterback feels like a pretty special situation. All right, everyone, happy Black Friday. Get yourself some courses. Get yourself whatever else you need. Watch some good ball. Let's cheer on some World Cup as well. I sincerely appreciate the support across platforms for the channel. If you see any of my stuff anywhere, do me a favor. Retweet, repost, share it if you feel comfortable sharing it with your community. It means a lot to me. It really does. So I sincerely appreciate your support. Get over there, get the courses, enroll today. Never a better time. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Later.